Hello adventurers and welcome to TarasTavern. I'm Tara and I own this fine establishment. Being a tavern keeper and a good one at that, I get a lot of guests venting to me about their problems and sometimes even asking for advice. And I know you nosy vagabonds over there would really like to get in on the gossip. I got you. I've collected 5 controversial stories that we're going to discuss together and decide whether they're the a-hole or not the a-hole. To warm up ourselves for the craziness ahead, I'm going to do the 6th story for the Patreons, and we're gonna see you back in just a quick second. And we're back. We're starting with the first story, named Am I the a-hole for leaving my number on the bill? I, 26-year-old male, went out for dinner last night with a few friends. We were at this pretty nice restaurant and our waitress, female, early 20s, caught my eye as soon as we sat down. I thought she was really cute and had a great sense of style. Her outfit was really unique and just seemed to suit her perfectly. Anyway, throughout the night she was really friendly and attentive and I couldn't help but keep noticing her. After a while I decided to go for it and compliment her on her outfit. I said something like, "Hey, I just wanted to say that you look really cute tonight and your outfit is amazing. It suits you so well." She seemed to take the compliment well, smiling and thanking me. Later on, as we were finishing up our meal, I decided to write my number on the receipt and leave it for her, just in case she was interested in talking more or even going on a date. When I handed her the receipt, I told her, "I hope this isn't too forward, but I've really enjoyed talking to you tonight and thought you might like to get in touch if you're interested." She took the receipt and thanked me, but I noticed her smile seemed a bit forced this time. I figured maybe she wasn't interested, and that was fine. I didn't want to push her or make her feel uncomfortable. After we left the restaurant, my friends told me that what I did was inappropriate and that I shouldn't have put her on the spot like that at her workplace. They said it's not okay to hit on the service workers who are just trying to do their job. I genuinely didn't mean any harm, and I thought I was being polite and respectful about it. Let's think about this together. As a tavern keeper here in the Sareth Forest, I do get hit on quite a bit. I consider this as kind of like a part of a job. Did I ever date any of the guests? No. I consider myself a pretty strong figure. I can poison someone, I can fight someone, I can tell someone off. Not everyone can do that. If this waitress did really like the OP who was flirting with her, it wouldn't seem so bad. But then at the same time, if she didn't, then there would be a power dynamic there. A power dynamic of her not being able to tell him off and say, "No, I don't want it," because she doesn't want to jeopardize her tips. Because a lot of times if you refuse someone, they get upset and they don't tip you. Know this from experience. The way that the OP describes it here is very polite. They didn't really do anything too forward, just complimented the waitress. I think the only thing probably maybe at the end with the bill and the number on it, if they just left their number and didn't say anything else, that would have probably been better. But by the things that they're describing, it did not sound very awful. Now, the way you present yourself can also be a very important factor in situations like this. Because, like I say, sometimes we have someone very sleazy come in the tavern, and if they told me a thing like,
"Hey, I just wanted to say that you look really cute tonight, and your outfit is amazing."
If it looked like that, I would be hella creeped out, and I would have my brawl control people watching them the whole night. But if it was more like, "Hey, I just wanted to say that you look really cute tonight and your outfit is amazing," I wouldn't think anything of it. The major consensus of the crowd was that that person was the a-hole. Let's see some comments. Throughout the night, she was really friendly and attentive. It's her job, be friendly and attentive. She seemed to take the compliment well, smiling and thanking me. "You are a customer. What's she supposed to do? Throw a drink in your face? You're the a-hole, whether you're meant to be or not. Do not go back to apologize or otherwise contact her. You've already put her in a really uncomfortable spot." Her job could be very important to her. If I had a tavern maiden going through this, I would probably be checking in on them and making sure that everything is okay and this person is not doing anything too crazy. I feel like sometimes people can be a little bit too on the aggressive side. You are the a-hole. This is almost always a bad idea. She's paid to be nice to you. She must get tons of guys hitting on her every day at her job. It's exhausting. If you absolutely had to hit on her, you should have just left your number on the receipt without saying anything directly to her and forcing an awkward encounter. But as a general rule, just leave women alone when they're working. Making extra comments can make somebody feel uncomfortable, sometimes maybe even unsafe, and just leaving your number on the bill and leaving it at that would be sufficient enough to just show your interest. Soft, you're the a-hole. Don't hit on or ask out service workers. They're a captive audience and customers can make their lives difficult if the employee turns them down. You put her in a difficult position. Also, don't discuss religion or politics with service workers. I think I agree with the soft, you are the a-hole, because this person didn't have bad intentions, seemingly, from what they've told us. We don't know. Leaving a number on the bill with a cute little note may have been better, because that way you don't have to have an awkward conversation. You don't have to make them feel awkward. And everyone leaves happy. She could ignore the number, she could call the number, but that's up to her. Moving on to the next story. Am I the a-hole for asking an annoying pest of a waiter to leave us alone during a serious conversation? My mom and I decided to have a heartfelt conversation while enjoying dinner at a local restaurant. Happens here a lot. We were discussing some deeply personal matters and needed a quiet, private environment. However, the entire experience got derailed due to a persistent and annoying waiter. At first, the waiter seemed friendly, which we appreciated. But as our conversation progressed, it was like they transformed into an annoying pest. They kept interrupting us, demanding our attention by asking how the food tasted, attempted to upsell us on various items and hovering around our table. Their constant interruptions were becoming incredibly grating. At one point, I decided to take a stand. I politely, albeit firmly, asked the waiter not to come back to our table unless we explicitly signaled them. I explained that our conversation was important and that their persistent interruptions were disruptive. They seemed taken aback, but they did give us some space for a brief period. However, the waiter apparently complained to the manager about my request for some peace and quiet. The manager came over to our table to address the situation. While the manager was understanding, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being treated as the bad guy here. Am I the a-hole for telling this annoying pest of a waiter to leave us alone during a serious conversation? Could I have handled this differently, or was my plea for some understanding and space reasonable, considering the circumstances? At the first glance, I would say not the a-hole. I have guests here at the tavern coming in all the time, and you have to read your customer. Some of them may be open to a conversation, maybe have a gossip to tell. Most of the time, they'll sit right at the bar and start a conversation themselves. Then you have customers who like to sit in the corner, do their work, and don't really want to be bothered. Sometimes the conversations are really private, and if you approach them, they could throw a dagger at the wall. You have to read your crowd. I don't think they were doing anything that was out of the ordinary. How were they trying to upsell stuff? Were they trying to see if they wanted another drink? Because in my tavern and other places I've known, let's say your drink is empty, you are required to see if they want another one. If that's what they would consider upselling, that's just them doing their job. The waiter may have not been annoying or a pesky, what they call them, annoying pest of a waiter. I don't think that's what it was. I think they were just doing their job, most likely, and these people were just trying to have a conversation, which is also totally fine. If they said it politely, albeit firmly, to the waiter and asked them for some space, would not even be a problem. If they were not polite, I don't know what polite means to people, it's really hard to tell from these stories, then it would be a different story. Let's read some comments. In Europe, this isn't an issue. The waitstaff takes your order, delivers it, and then leaves you alone to enjoy your meal. You signal them for the check. They hover in the States because they are dependent on tips, not the a-hole, you were polite. I have no idea why the waiter escalated it to his manager. At this fine establishment, TarasTavern over here, we do it the usual way. I offer you a drink, you get the drink, make sure the drink is good, ask you in a couple minutes, see if you're doing okay. If you're doing okay, I'll leave you alone. If one of my barmaids came up to me and said something like this about one of the customers, I would just tell them, don't worry, we'll keep an eye on them, go do the rest of your job. Not a big deal. I wouldn't see it as a big deal, unless they tried to hurt one of my barmaidens. Then they would be in for a nice little free ale on the house with poison in it. Oh, interesting. This is an opposing opinion. You are the a-hole 100%. Needed a quiet, private environment. Then go to one. You went to a public restaurant where someone's job was literally to go to your table through your time there. You sound terrible to interact with. I doubt he complained to his manager. Manager likely asked why he was avoiding the rude people at the table, as it is his job to watch his tables. And the way you call him an annoying pest, have some time to reflect. You are the annoying person who chose a public restaurant when needing a quiet, private place. Entitled and rude. You are the a-hole. Now that I read this comment, would I call this person an a-hole? Still no. However, I do agree with the point about needed a quiet, private environment. If you're going to a restaurant, you are expected to be greeted by your waiter and to be checked in once in a while. Now, if you want a quiet space and a space to talk, just say that to them. But also, how long were they sitting there? If it's a really busy restaurant and those people are sitting there talking for 4 hours, this waiter is not making any money off of them if they're just talking and all of their food and drinks are finished. That would make them an a-hole, because now they're sitting there not paying for the bill, not ordering anything else, and sitting for 4 hours in a restaurant, a busy restaurant, so to say. If it was empty, doesn't matter. But if it's a busy restaurant and their table is taken for 4 hours, that would make me check in on them quite a few times. Former server here, American. Different customers frequently wanted different levels of attention from me. I would always try to pick up on the cues they would give me. But it was even better if they flat out told me they were going to be talking for a while and not to come back unless they signaled. Now, if the server only has 3 to 4 tables in their section and you're seeing those tables turn more than once during your conversation, it's only fair to tip generously for the income they're losing by you taking up that table. Not the a-hole server should have just left well enough alone. I don't know how I found this comment. I didn't know that this was where it was going, but this is literally the points that I made. Still would call that person not the a-hole, but then again, we didn't have enough information to know how long they were sitting there for. What did they tell the server? What was the server even doing? Checking in on how they liked the food and trying to upsell? That's their job. Not the a-hole, but maybe a little bit of an a-hole. That's my opinion. Let's move on to the next story. Am I the a-hole as a waitress for accepting a massive tip from a creepy older man? I, 27 female, am a waitress. Friday night, I served this table. It was a middle-aged woman and a very handsome middle-aged man. A guy I would have gone out with if he wasn't so creepy. He had just made sure to mention that the woman he was dining with was his sister. After the meal, he gave me $500 US dollars tip. The tip was almost twice the price of the meal. He told me the tip was because I was so pretty. After work, I told a fellow waitress, 32-year-old female, and she was angry. She told me it was a stupid decision to accept that. She said I made it seem like behavior like that is acceptable by accepting it. I probably would never accept a tip like that under those circumstances again. Am I the a-hole? Sounds like the coworker is a little bit jealous. Get your coin, get those $500, whatever that means. You have to endure creepy guests and appease their behavior because customer service, especially in the human realms, you guys are really crazy about the service of it all and how the customer is always right. If you have to endure that, you might as well make something out of it. This person wouldn't even give a crap if you didn't accept the tip, and they would go and do it to somebody else anyways. So accept your tip and don't tell anyone about it because people will be jealous of you. Let's see what people are saying. Not the a-hole. You work for tips and didn't do anything out of line to get it. Coworkers just jealous for sure. Also, never tell coworkers about that type of tip. I mean, unless you'll always pull tips and you're adding it to the pool, but that's different. Agreed? Not the a-hole. It's not like you asked for the big tip or agreed to do anything for it. If he's wealthy and wants to leave a big tip, all the better for you. You did nothing wrong here. Exactly. As a former server, not the a-hole. This was never about her principal, it was about her being upset. You got a huge tip and she didn't. Your fellow servers care about their money, so you don't need to tell them about yours. Bragging about your huge tips is a good way to make enemies or get robbed after work when one of the shady ones sends a text to their friends or partner and has them waiting by your car outside. Wow. Never talk about how much money you made in tips. No one needs that information but you, the IRS, and your boss. I guarantee she would have kept the tip herself if she had been one of them serving him. If that coworker got that tip, she would have kept the tip. I guarantee it. I don't think sharing the amount of money you're making in tips is a good idea because there's a lot of ears that could be listening. We have a lot of thieves at the tavern, so we shouldn't be talking about how much money you're making. Some of them can be out for grabs, and some of them are really good at stealth and could steal your money very easily. Not the a-hole. Moving on. Am I the a-hole for telling my coworker why customers might not like her? Interesting. I work at a restaurant as a server. One of my coworkers moved up here from Georgia for college and started working here a few months ago. She constantly lays on this southern charm thing thick. She calls everyone honey and sweetie and all of that. She also tends to chit-chat with people instead of just letting them eat after bringing them their food or drinks. It's also kind of obvious that a lot of them don't want to really talk to her. They give one-word answers and she just barrels forward and talks at them. Management has told her off more than once for this. About 2 weeks ago, she was upset because a customer yelled at her and said, "Don't call me that," when she called her honey. And she complains that she's not getting as many tips as the other servers. She says it's because she has a southern accent and customers think she's stupid, but I don't think that's the case. She asked me for advice, and I said it's because she takes so long to bring things out and wastes time trying to make small talk. I also said that the excessive pet names sound kind of condescending, and they aren't really something you would call a stranger here. She told me that she wasn't going to start being rude to customers because she would make me even less money. I told her it's not being rude, it's just how things work here, and it's rude to other customers she's supposed to be serving when she spends all her time trying to make small talk instead of doing her job and calling them weird things. Now she's mad and has been avoiding me. Maybe I could have been gentler when trying to explain why people complain about her, but I was also really stressed because it's Christmas season and so much is going on. Am I the a-hole? This waitress kind of sounds like the other waitress from the other story with the annoying pesky waiter. So appears like there is a bit of a cultural difference here from what we are being told. The coworker themselves asked for advice on how they could make better tips. They're not the a-hole for telling them that. If one of my barmaids came up to me, asked me for advice on how they could better themselves, I would be blunt. I would tell them exactly what the problem is. You know why? Because that way they can succeed. That way they could be a little bit hurt, but constructive criticism is very important for the betterment of yourself and getting better tips. As a waiter, part of your job is being able to read a table. If one customer is not open to conversations, you should be able to tell by the signs. Sometimes it's completely verbal signs, sometimes it's their body language, the way that they respond to you. If they seem a little bit short and a little bit closed off, maybe they just want to be left alone. So just leave them alone and do your job. Bring out the food, take your order, take the payment, that's all. Easy work. Because actually, it's the easiest guest at the tavern you're gonna get. Most of the times, they'll also tip the best. Now, if you get another customer who wants to talk to you, talk to them. Do the same. But also calling people certain names can be offensive. It is true. What did she call them? Honey and sweetie. To some people, they may find it really cute and really nice. Some people will put an axe into your forehead. So you have to read the table. And maybe don't call people by pet names. That's just my opinion. Let's see what the comments are saying. I'm from the north and had to learn to be okay with the southern hospitality pet names when I moved south. Up there, those can be fighting words. If she doesn't change, she can expect complaints and possibly her job. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. This sounds like a realistic assessment. Making small talk is a bad idea. The person she's talking to feels obliged to answer, even though they might not be in a good mood or simply lack the time. And everyone else gets upset over the delay. As for her pet names, that's just unprofessional. I don't agree with every single thing you said, but overall I'm going to say not the a-hole. To be honest, it sounds like this person isn't all that good at being a server. Making small talk with the customers can be a good move that makes them happy and increases your tips, but you've got to know when to do it and when to just go away and leave them alone. And when you've just brought out their food is almost never the right time for the charm offensive, especially when this server is apparently slow about bringing the food out after it's ready. I feel confident that people in Georgia wouldn't like that much more than people do in Boston or New York City, or whatever you are. The honey sweetie thing is a bit more complicated, and I'm not sure I agree. I would think that for a young southern woman working outside the South, that would be a net positive on the tips, if only she was better at other aspects of the job. Again, though, it's about reading the room table. Some people are going to respond well to this, and others less so, and it's somewhat predictable just based on demographics. I more or less agree with this. I think, once again, overall, it's just about reading the table and understanding exactly what they need. Now, somebody with less experience might not understand it as much, and if this person is new at being a server, I would probably just have them shadow another server that's more experienced for a bit, just to see how they do things and how they read into the situations. Let's go into our last story, and it's a juicy one. Am I the a-hole for firing a server on the spot after she yelled at the table for an apparent racist conversation? I work at a large chain place, or I did before all this virus stuff. That was before all of the pandemic stuff happened. The story is actually from a month ago, but many people I've told have different opinions. One of my servers, let's just call her Sarah, is a questionable employee at best. She's very politically active, and I really don't want to use the phrase snowflake, except they did. But I don't know what else to say. Many times something in the news comes out that Sarah doesn't like. She comes into work blabbering to everyone about it and looks visibly agitated to customers. I've let it slide because she's young and in school, and I know her job is important for her. This all changed one afternoon during lunch rush. I was up at the hostess stand when I heard "Excuse you?" very loudly, and I turn around to see Sarah fuming at the stable of two ladies, maybe in their 60s. I would appreciate if every time I walked past the table I didn't have to hear your racist conversation or slurs. She walked away, and many other tables were looking at them, each other, me. Let's just say it caused a big scene. A black woman sitting at a nearby table started asking loudly what the women were saying. The two women were horribly embarrassed, and I walked up to them and apologized for being yelled at by my staff. I walk in the back where Sarah is standing. She comes up to me and tries to explain herself, looking nervous like she knew she effed up. I told her you do not yell at a customer, and to leave, and that her time here was over. She stared at me for a minute, like in disbelief, and left. Now, I do not know what these women were apparently saying. In any profession, you do not yell at a customer and won't have that right, at least in my opinion. There's other ways she could have handled it. It caused a very embarrassing situation. Am I the a-hole for firing her? Yes, the things that the person was saying about that person already tells us that she had some prejudices about her, and did not agree with maybe her political opinions, and was just trying to find an excuse to fire her. I do not believe in this crap about customer is always right. At the very least, what this person could have done to make the situation better is hear Sarah out. To get a reaction like this out of someone who is serving a customer, they must have been saying something pretty crazy. I must say, I have probably done whatever Sarah did several times. To be fair, I would probably be real nice to their face, because you have to catch them when they're not expecting it. I would serve them something with a little poison to it, you know, that's just my signature move. Or maybe I could give them something free, like some kind of magical cursed item that makes them speak in rhymes, possibly, or a dagger that turns them purple. That is definitely an a-hole over here. The one point that they were mentioning about the Sarah coming into work and complaining about things that they saw online and being rude to customers from their perspective, if that's what was going on, I would probably have a conversation with Sarah about it and kind of make it more of like a comfortable space to kind of tell them, hey, like, I understand that these are issues that are bothering you and that you are allowed to have opinions about these things and you're allowed to be upset about these things, but you're coming in here to work and you need to be a little bit more professional. I think that would be fair. Let's read some comments. You're the a-hole for firing her without letting her explain herself or finding out what happened first. A rule of hospitality may be never yell at your customers, but another is that you have your employees back. That's right. Especially when circumstances require further investigation. Sounds like you just wanted an excuse to fire her and you didn't do your due diligence. If she comes back with an unfair dismissal lawsuit, you may have asked for it. You are the a-hole. You should have found out what the hell was going on, but you don't seem to have investigated at all. You're just dismissing her as a snowflake and fired her. If they were dropping racist language or something like the N-word in your restaurant to the point that somebody walking by could hear, you should have an issue with that. Since you didn't ask, you don't know what was said, or if your server had been asked by another customer to get them to stop, or if she'd already talked to them politely. You don't know anything at all. You apologize to the embarrassed women without knowing what was up, when it sounds like they maybe should have been embarrassed. Your server probably shouldn't have yelled, but those women definitely shouldn't be enabled to be assheads. Frankly, I'd rather patron a restaurant that has no tolerance for racist bullcrap than one that enables racists and then fires workers who say something without figuring out what happened. This person did not investigate. This person did not talk to their employee. You have your employees back. They are the backbone of your restaurant. You need to make sure they feel safe, they feel heard, and if you're gonna fire them for not even investigating the situation, you're the a-hole. Now, I do also agree with the point about them yelling at the customer. I agree and I disagree. Because if it was happening around me, I'd probably yell at them too. But at the same time, to keep my barmaids safe, I would probably have them come up to me first. Tell me what's going on, tell me the conversations that happened, and I would go yell at those people saying racial slurs and inappropriate comments. You are the a-hole. Calling out racism takes guts, and in that scenario, you are an enabler. The old racist ladies just learned that instead of being called out, the people who call them out get fired. So it's okay to be racist when you're in charge. That's the message you sent to everyone else in the restaurant. That's also very extreme. She yells at a customer for being racist, so you fire her? Sounds like you may be the snowflake here. Kudos to young people for standing against things like that and actually caring about it more than the restaurant's reputation. At this tavern, we have all sorts of different races. Orcs, gnomes, dwarves, high elves, wood elves, goblins, I can't even count. And one rule, I have a little more than one rule, but one of the most important rules here is that everyone needs to get along. Does it always work out? No, the brawls do happen weekly, but the rule is, you respect me, I respect you, we have a great relationship and connection. You know, heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire Dradalis realm. That's it for today. Let me know your opinions in the comments below, and if you have an interesting story to share, even if it's imaginary, we have a subreddit called TarasTavern where you can share that. The link is in the description below. May your travels be safe, and don't ever order the Shimmy Special.